Hello and welcome to This Is. The internet sucks right now, and it's probably gonna get a lot worse.
This is a video that I was a little on the fence about making. There is a big nebulous problem that is, I think, getting much, much worse. I think a lot about way back in the day, and by that I mean like 10 years ago, whatever. Things like Snapchat start becoming more popular. Instagram have just done out their thing where they've got the little map for your stories. And I remember thinking, even like 10 years ago, like people are like, oh my God, tracking me? I don't want people to know where I am. How many apps on your phone on a regular basis need your exact location for almost no reason? That's the kind of creeping problem that it might seem crazy, but after a while, and you just kind of get numb to it, it just becomes like just a non-issue. And I think that's exactly what we're talking about today. This is a problem that right now you may be like, oh, that's kind of dumb and it's kind of annoying. And I feel very confident that 5 to 10 years from now, this will become so popular, so common, so like regular that you won't even think about it. It'll just be part of the furniture. And I think that's kind of fucked up.
So what we're talking about, the amount of censorship that has been pushed on the internet currently, where that kind of leads to, including age verifications. And the two are separate, but converging at the same spot. And honestly, it's gonna be a big problem.
I think the main way that this kind of got kicked off was the issue with itch.io and Steam taking off the adult games. I think that's kind of like what kind of kicked a lot of the conversation up.
A bunch of payment processors, Visa, MasterCard, they pressured itch, they pressured Steam. Where this kind of pushed over the edge for me was there was another platform called Zoom. They had a similar conversation where Duke Nukem was flagged as an adult game.
That's a crazy thing to say.
And so you also have had pushes against like GTA forever. There is an Australian group who was pushing hard to get GTA delisted. Really what it comes down to, according to all of these companies, is we want to protect kids.
It's such a problematic argument because I think everyone can agree that protecting kids is a good idea. To me, a lot of these things feel like there are probably some good intentions behind it. But the problem is that the way that people are handling things is there's a nail in the wall and people taking a sledgehammer to like hit the nail in. You're breaking the entire wall.
Thank you to Squarespace for sponsoring this video. Do you know what your latest project needs? An online presence beyond just social media. Squarespace has everything you need to get started by building an online home for your brand.
Is graphic design not your passion, or you're just really bad at it like I am? Well, no worries, because Squarespace's design intelligence feature puts 20 years of design expertise to work with tools to guide you through every step of the design process. You can even get help with copywriting.
And if you want to get aesthetic with it, then Squarespace has a wide array of built-in visual design effects. It's super easy to pick out and apply that extra design sauce that will help to elevate your brand's visual language.
It's a breeze to set up your site to sell whatever you want, whether it's your time, your content, or your merchandise. You can easily put up online courses, blogs, and videos behind a paywall. All you have to do is upload, set the price, and choose if you want to do a one-time fee or a reoccurring subscription.
Are you ready to be a website wizard? Then check out squarespace.com/thisis to get yourself a free 14-day trial as well as 10% off your first purchase of a website or domain. And thank you very much to Squarespace for sponsoring this episode of This Is.
The internet has been built in a certain way for 30 years with the idea that you as a user and Matt as a theoretical like website owner, we have different rules where like if I'm uploading something to your website, you are not liable for what's on that website because how could you possibly police every single thing? However, if someone reports that thing, then you have an obligation to take it down. But it's not like you have to go and literally manually vet everything.
And so now what the push is strict age verifications.
Yeah.
And if the website or platform or whatever violates those age verifications, heavy fines.
Yeah.
A lot of states in the US were starting to say, no, we're gonna require age verification.
And ID specific verification. It's not like saying like, oh, I like this is my date. Like you need to verify it. And obviously most of these sites are like, we don't want the responsibility of having to deal with that. That's like an expensive whole process. So a number of websites of various different persuasions have basically blocked people from various states or various countries who've enacted these things.
You could argue like, oh, that makes sense. Like, you know, maybe we shouldn't have like a porn video game. You can make those arguments, like, but like, then there's the people like, well, I'm an adult and I want to have whatever content I want available to me. This is where, to me, it starts getting way too slippery. Who's determining what's considered adult?
Yes.
Who's determining who's an adult? So YouTube has said, hey, we're gonna start using AI. We're gonna determine if we think you're a kid or not. That is weird because I grew up on SpongeBob and I wanna go watch a bunch of SpongeBob clips. Does the AI know that I'm a 36-year-old man watching SpongeBob? And then they go, okay, well, if the AI moderation is too aggressive and flags you in wrongly as a child and you're not, you can very easily upload your government issued ID.
Is YouTube actually asking for IDs? I have not seen that they were specific.
Yet, but in the UK, the push is to
actually make it mandatory.
Make it mandatory of government issued ID.
There's so many problems with this because, okay, the way that the internet is designed, and I think the best analogy I have is that the internet and websites are like a train on the tracks, and you're trying to like bolt something onto the track ahead of the train. It's just like, it's not designed to work like that. And like, you're gonna cause problems because first of all, you're putting a huge amount of liability on websites, which means that you are burying any small websites who does not have a huge legal team and like all this kind of stuff to do all this testing. My understanding is pretty much every time that you actually want to scan and verify like a real ID, there is a cost associated with that. Again, something that the Googles and the Facebooks of the world could probably handle, but not the banjoboys.com. You need to make sure that you can listen to our new hit single, My Wife Left Me for My Truck, and My Truck Left Me for My
That
Wife.
was really adult.
Hashtag tech truck.
For those of you who watch Silicon Valley, they make the chat app and they realize, 13-year-olds are using this and now we're liable for like $20 billion in fines. So they're putting the blame on websites for not policing it enough. But then how many websites are just gonna be like, we can't afford to even operate. You need to have a legal team ready to go and
very expensive insurance to cover like your liability.
We already see the internet shrinking as far as websites go because all the other websites are just owned by another website. Just the need for this is gonna cause ripples in the internet. But then we could talk about what website has not had some sort of massive data breach. Trusting a website with your data is already so much of a gamble.
Yeah.
We also can't trust companies when they say, we delete your data. Let's look at the T-app that
Oh my God.
This is the exact scenario. The T-app said, hey, we want to protect women. You have to upload your ID to prove that you are who you are. And then every single one of those got leaked and hacked.
It's a huge burden on any company, regardless big or small, to own IDs. There's no good example of like how to do this better, which I think is part of the reason why this is only going to continue to become more and more of a thing. I can understand that there is certainly sometimes where you might want to verify that you are like a real person. Like that seems like an important thing to do sometimes.
The other thing I wanted to bring up is that government ID is also putting a lot on these actual governments. Imagine you're living in a country that heavily restricts internet access. If you have to upload your government ID, you are outing yourself as someone who is in one of these countries and therefore blocking yourself from a free internet.
I have a much better solution to all this. I think that people are way overcomplicating it. Say you're on Google right now, you're watching a YouTube video, you're having a great time, and then you get a little pop-up saying, hey, are you old enough to watch this video? Are you really actually 43 like your profile says? Let's use AI to ask you questions that a 43-year-old person should know. What are your thoughts on Ronald Reagan? Tell me more.
I want to be very clear on my opinions and my stance on this. A few years ago, we were talking about net neutrality.
Yeah.
I think that this whole situation here is so much more potential of harm than net neutrality did. I'm going to focus on GTA for this.
Yeah.
GTA 6 is approaching $2 billion for development costs. Let's do a scenario where it's determined that some body that's not the government, by the way, say this is an adult game and we're going to pressure every platform to delist this. What happens to the gaming industry when the tentpole game that just gets shut off tomorrow? And I mean, because it's just like, hey, we don't like the way that Florida's portrayed. The game industry is cooked at that point.
I will say that I think that's probably a little bit of an extreme example. I don't think something like that would happen. But the problem is that what stops it? Because I think that the slippery slopes are real. I think what is considered adult content, there's no definition of a lot of these things. So many of these things, the litmus test has always been, you know it when you see it. What I think is maybe inappropriate might be different from what you think or whatever the case is.
Yeah. I play this one game.
Yeah.
Where you play as an octopus. So this is a kid's game.
But we were doing more hand gestures.
Yeah.
Anyway, boy, that's terrible. I don't know why would you want to play that. Can I just float something else? Actually, talking about GTA, I think is a really good point because something is different compared to previous sort of like moral panics. When the ESRB started actually like rating games like mature and adults only, all this kind of stuff. Previously, if you were going to go out and buy a copy of GTA, you go to your local GameStop or whatever the case is. If you looked like you were maybe a little bit younger, they would actually look at your ID.
And there's a huge difference between looking at your ID and
putting in a database.
Submitting your ID.
Yes, exactly right. Like some kid who works at GameStop's gonna look at your thing and go, yep, you're 19, here you go, and that's the end of it. Like they're not like writing down your phone number, they're not like writing down your address, because that's what ID verification has always been designed for. That was never designed in a digital context. That was always designed just as a thing to show that ID was never designed to just be blatantly scanned and put on the internet. If we were serious about this whole situation, which we're not, and no one's gonna do this, you would need an actual like digital ID. And it was just a verification to say like, yes, this person is the age they are, whatever the case is, without sharing literally everything about it.
Signing with Apple is a good example of like, it's not giving my email address.
Yeah.
And the T app is, I think, the best example of this. You cannot trust companies to not delete your data. The safest way I could think of.
Fake IDs. Fake IDs for everybody.
Well, I have a story about that.
You do? Okay, go ahead.
So
Is it an incriminating story? And are you past the statute of limitations?
Oh yeah.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. When I was 19, I had a fake ID and I went to the Cheers bar in Boston. Mine was from Kansas. But like it was all my information was actually correct. Bouncers used to say like, give me your address or something like that.
Yeah.
Like you had to memorize your ID back in the day. I give it to him and the guy goes, I'm from Kansas. This isn't what IDs look like. For the record, I was already pretty drunk because like he was going out with friends whenever. And so I got kicked out.
Yep.
And I remember just being like, so much for everyone knowing your name. I got kicked out of the Cheers bar. The best I can think, like your webcam, if you hold your ID up to the webcam and it's AI scans it.
I tried something similar to this. So I recently had to get a visa to go to the UK, but there's actually like a live scan of your face. So basically you turn on like your webcam or your phone camera or whatever, and it not only matches your face, but it actually wants to like record for a second to make sure that it's not like a photo or whatever, to actually see your face like move and whatnot. That was actually the first time I'd seen that.
Well, because this is the problem. You saw, I don't know if you saw the thing that like in Death Stranding, Norman Reedus is so well rendered. In UK, people have been using screenshots of him to bypass age verification.
I will say that I understand that a lot of these restrictions, there are some like well-meaning thoughts behind it, because I think that most people can agree that while the internet is a wild west, that there's a lot of things on the internet that maybe kids shouldn't be doing. I don't want to just say like, hey, this is all terrible and bad. Like there are problems here, and I'm sure there's plenty of politicians who are very well-meaning with some of these things. But my issue is that I think a lot of these issues are being handled in the most ham-fisted way possible. You're trying to use a sledgehammer to tap in a nail that's this big.
We're singling out Visa just because they were in the Steam. Visa's not a elected official. Like that's not a governed body. You have a company dictating then laws. Even Spotify has started doing this. It's already seeping into other facets of media and stuff like that.
Coming back to the very beginning of this video, I think it's sort of a reason why I'm so negative on this being a solvable problem is the technical challenge of trying to come up with some kind of ID. That's a whole like can of worms. But also, I think the biggest issue here, this is gonna piece by piece become more and more common. You're gonna have your ID leaked more and more often. You're gonna need it for more and more things. We're gonna be grumbly about it. We're gonna make a grumpy video about it. And then guess what? 5-10 years from now, we're gonna go, well, of course, that's what we gotta do. Like you're not even gonna think about it because you're just gonna sleepwalk through the whole thing. It's sort of nefarious because like it's gonna pop up here, pop up there. But as it becomes more and more standardized and companies want to really avoid getting sued and laws are being enforced ostensibly to protect children, which is always a great idea in theory, but in practice maybe doesn't work out quite so well. I just think that it's just a really problematic kind of thing. And the biggest thing is there's not a lot you can do because I feel like we're all going to want to go to the Cheers bar and show our IDs. We're all going to want to go on to particular websites that maybe need our verification of an ID or whatever. And guess what? Sorry to say, y'all. Time to invest in a mustache and change your name to Pierre Luigi.
Yeah.
It's a losing battle, though. It's hard for me to imagine like what a good solution is, other than like trying to really stand up for this kind of stuff. But like, I don't know, man. I feel like the winds are blowing in a direction. It's like
it feels very dystopian. I don't want to be too doom and gloom on it, but like this is us bringing attention to it, and take it as you will.
What's the solution? I think that's like my big question, right?
Let us know what you think about all this in the comments. Like, follow, subscribe. We'll catch you in the next one.
How early do you show up to the airport?
Way earlier than you.
My ideal airport flow is this. If I am parking at the airport, I want to get the notification on my phone that my flight is boarding as I'm walking into the airport. I love it when I get to, without stopping, walk all the way into the airport, walk through security, then walk over to my gate as they're boarding and not stop and just walk up to the thing, go, boop, scan my thing and just keep walking. If I can step out of my car and not stop until I sit down on a plane, I have timed it perfectly.
You're ridiculous. Like, you've almost missed your flight. I don't know how many times.